All right. Hi, guys. Welcome back. My allergies are really bad right now, so I apologize for how I sound on this. This is day 2, lesson 2, going over the trig ratios. I know we went over this a little bit before ACT time, but we're really going to dive into it and make sure we spend a dedicated amount of time, finding the side, finding the angle, trig ratios, and word problems. That way you guys are really confident going into, trigonometry potentially next year as your senior math class or future attempts at the ACT or any other placement exams you might have to do for something going forward. So we are going to start with the acronym SOHCAHTOA. So hopefully you've heard of SOHCAHTOA before in your past. It is a funny mnemonic device that helps us remember the 3 trig ratios. And the 3 trig ratios are sine, cosine, and tangent. So spelled out, they're sine, cosine, and tangent. But we abbreviate them as sine, cosine, and tangent. Okay, and when you look at the buttons on your calculator, you'll see that those also have those abbreviations as well. If you do not have the graphing calculator app, I highly recommend Calculate 84. It's a really awesome app, graphing calculator. I have it linked in Google Classroom if you guys want to take a look at it. I'll also, use it throughout this recording on my iPad to show you what it looks like, and so on. So yeah, SOHCAHTOA helps us remember what each trig function needs to be ordered to do its function. So the sine function, in order to find the sine of an angle, it needs to know the length of the opposite side and the length of the hypotenuse of the triangle. The cosine function, in order for it to be able to work, you need to know the length of the adjacent side of the triangle as well as the side of the hypotenuse. And then finally, the tangent side needs to know the length of the opposite side and the length of the adjacent side. And so these sides as opposite and adjacent side refer to the other 2 sides in the triangle that are not the hypotenuse, and we'll go over how to identify those and how they change based on where your angle is. So the 3 things that you'll be asked to do right now in today's video, this is all we're going to worry about, okay? So finding the trig ratio of an angle. In trigonometry, we use a lot of variables. Typically, when we do not know what an angle is, we refer to that angle as theta. Okay, theta is a Greek letter, Theta. It might sound a lot different than what it might look a lot different than it sounds with my allergies. But yes, that is a Greek letter, theta. And what you're going to do when it asks for a trig ratio is you are simply going to make a fraction. Okay, so we're going to head over to our trig ratio questions and get started. So it says, what is the trigonomic ratio? We are going to go ahead. I like to use the acronym SOHCAHTOA, and I like to write it out like this because it really helps articulate what SOH, CAH, and TOH really means for us. So SOHCAHTOA written out like that shows you exactly what the trig ratio is. The trig ratio is always going to be your trig function, so whatever it is, whether it's sine, cosine, or tangent, of an angle equals something over something. That's what a trig ratio is. It's got a sine, cosine, or tangent here. It's got an angle, and then it's got 2 lengths of the triangle. So when it says what is the trigonomic ratio, we're going to set that up and we're going to plug in the correct trig function, the correct angle measure, and the correct side lengths, depending on whether it's sine, cosine, or tangent. So the first one says find sine of x. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to identify the angle that they want us to use. So I'm going to look at my picture of my triangle XYZ, and I'm going to find angle x. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a theta in that corner, because the opposite and the adjacent side are going to be affected on whether that is the angle that I'm using, whether that's the angle I'm using or if it's not. So I identify theta, and then I go ahead and I label my other three sides of the triangle. So I look for my hypotenuse. The order that I like to label them in is hypotenuse first, because you guys are most familiar at looking at that angle. You probably know it best. So if you look for the 90-degree angle, you look straight across, you're going to find your hypotenuse. It's also really easy in these problems if you're looking at all three side lengths. The largest number is always your hypotenuse, so it's a really easy place to start. Once you label your hypotenuse, I want you to find your opposite side. Again, I'm going to draw a crazy pencil like I did last time. If you put the point of your pencil in the given angle, then the body of the pencil and the eraser of the pencil should be touching what's considered your opposite side. I think my first pencil and eraser was way better, okay? Obviously, I wish I could show you guys, with my pencil what I mean by that, but using the theta angle, if you want to find out what side is opposite, put the tip of your pencil in the point of the angle, and then wherever the pencil is touching or wherever the eraser is pointing is considered your opposite side. So I'm going to try and get rid of all of that. That means that this side right here is my opposite side. And then if you label your hypotenuse and your opposite correctly, then you have no choice but to label your adjacent side correctly as well. So now we have to go back and we have to look at which trig function they want us to use, okay? So they're either going to ask for sine, cosine, or tangent of whatever angle they've suggested. So that's where we use SOHCAHTOA. So if they ask us for sine, then we look to the acronym SOHCAHTOA and we look for the letter S. So the SOH stands for sine of an angle equals the length of the opposite over the length of the hypotenuse. So I need to have all three of those things. I need to have the sine x. So this part I just copy from the problem. Sine x equals, and now I find my opposite length and my hypotenuse length. And that's all I need to do. You might be saying, why don't I reduce that fraction? Because it's a step that does not need to be taken. Typically, when you're using a trig ratio, you're going to do some additional operations on it anyway that the calculator will will simplify for you, and so you do not need to worry about it. So right now, 24 over 30 is totally fine. We're going to move on to the next one. So the good news about this is that it's super procedural. We're going to do the same thing over and over. So step 1, identify the C. Again, if I start to go too fast, that's why you guys have this video, so you can pause, rewind, go back if there's anything that you guys missed. I know I talk fast, and you guys aren't here in person to tell me to slow down. So, yes, use the video to your advantage as I keep going. I'm going to eventually do, some of these really fast. So if you're doing them on your own piece of paper, you can copy down the problem and then pause the video, try it on your own, and then hit play, and then you'll see me solve it. So yeah, again, use this to your advantage. So I'm going to find angle C in my picture. So I got triangle ABC. I found angle C. I'm going to draw my theta in that corner. I'm going to find my hypotenuse side. Again, out of 10, 24, and 26, the hypotenuse is going to be the biggest number. So that was easy to spot. It's also across. Sorry, I just dropped my iPad. Across from the 90-degree angle. Then, using the theta, using the letter C, I'm going to find my opposite side. Thinking about if I had a pencil and I pointed it in this angle, the pencil would be touching the side that's 10. So I'm going to go ahead and label that opposite. And then I'm left with adjacent. You will always have an O, an H, and an A in every single triangle. So once you find H and O, it's really easy to figure out which one needs to be A. So now I go back. It says that it wants me to find cosine of this angle. So I'm going to look up to my SOHCAHTOA, and I'm going to find the C for cosine, which tells me that I need the length of the adjacent over the length of the hypotenuse. So I'm going to rewrite this phrase right here. Cosine of C equals, and I need the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Okay, and since we have learned this year, and you learn this in geometry, you might be like, wait, don't I do something else? Don't I have to do more? Not yet, okay? In the next couple days videos, we'll take it to the next step, but for right now, this is all you need to do. So enjoy the simplicity of it now, okay? Again, for number 3, I'm going to keep going. And again, I want you guys to be able to try all of these problems on your own. So I might just do number 3, and then I'll give you guys a warning, and then I'll post all the, well, I guess I have to do it one at a time. But you know the drill. I'm going to start to go fast. So try all of these problems. Try doing them before you watch me do them live. That way you benefit the most from them. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. So first I got to find angle Z. I find angle Z. I label my hypotenuse, my biggest number, my opposite side, and my adjacent. Then I go back and I look for tangent in SOHCAHTOA. I find tangent, and I know that I need the length of the opposite over the length of the adjacent. So I go down, I rewrite my trig function tangent of Z, and I know that I need to find my opposite over my adjacent. So that's going to leave me with 24 over 10. And again, there's no need to reduce that. Okay, so I recommend pausing right now. Go ahead and do number 4 on your own right now. Pause this video and then watch the solution once you finish it. So we have sine x, we have our hypotenuse, our opposite, our adjacent. Bam, bam. Sine of x equals 15 over 39. So again, I recommend that you pause the video now. Try example 5. Angle Z, hypotenuse, opposite, adjacent. Cosine of Z equals adjacent over hypotenuse. That's my final answer. All right, go ahead and pause the video now. Do example 6. If you want, you can just pause the video now, do all of them, and then fast forward to the end of the video and just see all the solutions. X, hypotenuse, opposite, adjacent, tangent needs opposite and adjacent. Tangent of x equals 30 over 16. A, hypotenuse, opposite, adjacent. Sine means O and H. Copy the question. Equals 32 over 40. So it's important. Remember, you want to have all 3 things. If you're doing this problem and your answer to this was just 32 over 40, I need to see the whole thing. So I need to see sine of A equals 32 over 40, not just the fraction. The trig ratio involves having the trig function in there too. Change the color up. I got C, hypotenuse, opposite, adjacent. Cosine needs A and H. Copy down the question, 28 over 35. Theta, hypotenuse, opposite, adjacent, opposite, adjacent. Tangent of x equals 9 over 40. Hopefully you guys are getting really good at this. By now you're super bored. You're rocking it out and being awesome. You are washing your hands regularly. Sine of z equals 9 over 41. Hope you guys are missing school and being thankful for the days that you got to go to school and making the most of what you can do right now. We've got cosine needs A and H. Cosine of A equals 36 over 39. And then Z is hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent. Tangent of Z equals 24 over 32. And that's our lesson for today, okay? So hopefully that one was quick and easy and painless. Again, remind, email, Google Classroom with any questions, comments, concerns. I miss you guys as always, and I love you, and I hope you guys are doing okay, and reach out if you need me. All right, love you guys. Bye.